Hey guys. Hey guys. We are back. Fix my title in Twitch. Uh, what is it? Does that work? Twitch says the title is invalid. Hey guys, come on in. Maybe it's his name that they don't like. He was a horrible serial killer. Hey guys, come on in. It's pretty crazy. It looks like Twitch does not like um, the word Joseph Duncan. I don't blame him. I can't go live with his name in the title. Isn't that something? Hey, Centel. Hey, Natalie. It's so good to see y'all over here. Come on over. Hey, TRG. We're live again. Trying to fix the my little Twitch here. It apparently does not like the name Joseph Duncan. Well, that did it. No, it didn't like the word serial killer. Okay. Well, we're live on Twitch. We're live everywhere. Y'all know how I do it. Um, we are streaming everywhere. YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, and Twitch. This story here is a perfect story for my crime and investigations channel, as well as even my Leak You channel. As y'all know, I received a strike on my main channel last night. I don't know why. It was the weirdest, craziest thing. The strike was for spam. And I thought to myself, oh, I remember how, people were, telling others how to strike someone or target them if they didn't like them for whatever reason. And spam was one of those things. And it's crazy, but whatever. I'll be back. Few more days, I'll be back. And I mean, you absolutely could never shut me up. You know what I mean? Ever. Ever. I am just too outgoing. Like, you will never shut me up. So yeah, we'll deal with the strike for the next 6 days. I'll be streaming over here on my backup channel as well as on my crimes and investigations channel. So listen, I want to talk about a pretty big story. Um, and the reason, this is a big story. This is a story that I've known about since it happened. When this happened, I was actually living in Seattle, Washington at the time. And Joseph Duncan, who, we later found out who was Joseph Duncan, um, who killed several children. Okay. He's been a killer since he became an adult. His first murder and rape was in 1980, for goodness sakes. He was convicted of the killings of 5 people. And the thing that is so disturbing with this particular serial killer, Joseph Duncan, was the manner in which he committed his crimes. So I want to talk a little bit about that. But first, let me start off by saying that Joseph Duncan is now dead. Good riddance. He was he was not only a convicted serial killer whose victims included 2 young boys. He died yesterday at a hospital in Indiana. He was in Terre Haute, Indiana, in the United States Penitentiary there under federal conviction, and he was also on death row. which is, federal death row. It takes a long time to execute someone on death row in a federal case compared to one like down here in Texas. If he would have did that crime in Texas, he probably would have been executed within 3 to 5 years. At this point in the state of Texas, they've made it so bad that typically upon conviction, your execution takes place within about 3 to 5 years. That's because they have eliminated the number of, you know, they've eliminated the number of appeals you can have. They've did all sorts of things. And Texas does not make it easy on those that are sitting on death row. That is absolutely for sure. You know what they say about Texas. Now, this man has been on death row for a long time. He had been diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. And you want to know what I thought when I heard that? We all know that the brain, different parts of the brain control different parts of the body, right? And with my experience of having a brain tumor, I'm pretty familiar with like the different lobes of the brain, what parts, what lobes, what they control, that sort of a thing. And the one thing that sort of came to mind when I heard that he had been diagnosed with terminal brain cancer was, was his tumor. Which would, when we're talking terminal brain cancer, we're talking about a brain tumor, was his tumor, his terminal cancer in an area of his brain that would affect the behaviors that he exhibited over his adult life. I don't know. But I do know that brain tumors have the capability to change people's, their memory, their behavior, even their attitude. But nothing, absolutely nothing can justify what this man did. I wouldn't give a damn if he had terminal brain cancer when he committed the crime. I wouldn't care. To me, what he did was so utterly appalling that honestly, terminal brain cancer or not, that is someone, this was someone who absolutely deserved the death penalty. Okay. So he killed 4 members, okay, of a family in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho in 2005. And this is actually about the time that I really started getting serious about blogging and vlogging because I remember writing about this case. And I remember that he had a blog himself. And I actually still have a copy of that somewhere. He kidnapped 2 children from this family of 4 that he killed, named Dylan and Shasta. He kidnapped them and he tortured them in Montana. Basically, he left state lines. He went into the forests of Montana and lived between 2 ran down, decrepit cabins over a span of like 7 or 8 weeks. And this whole time, he sexually abused Dylan and Shasta. I'm going to say a few things here that are going to be very hurtful for you to hear, but I want you to understand how disgusting this motherfucker was. Now, I want you to understand this too. Shasta was the only survivor of his rampage. She is still alive. She was actually rescued when Joseph Duncan went into a Denny's in Coeur d'Alene and the staff recognized her. Sometimes I feel like he was essentially taking her back where he got her from. He knew he'd be recognized in Coeur d'Alene, and there was this whole weird complex of God and Satan and all this weird shit that he was doing. And I don't know if he had a stroke of, all I can say is God was with Shasta during that time when he returned her and took her to that Denny's. Now, he also was tried for the murder of 10-year-old Anthony Martinez, who was literally abducted in front of people. He also, Duncan, who is from Tacoma, okay, was linked by DNA to the killing. He pleaded guilty to it, and he received a sentence of life in prison. And it really didn't matter about his sentence of life in prison because at this point he already had a death sentence. So either way, he was never getting out. Now, what I'm read here is Anthony's father has said he would have liked to have witnessed his execution, knowing he is now standing before God, being held accountable for what he's done, what he did to his son, and the horrible crimes that he committed to others. And I think he feels a little cheated, regarding that. Apparently, Duncan underwent brain surgery last year, last October. He was diagnosed with a glioblastoma. That is a stage 4 brain tumor. They also call them GBMs. That is its nickname. Anytime you're diagnosed with a glioblastoma, there is absolute reason to be concerned. Those particular types of tumors, they grow in with tentacles. They grow into the brain. It's not like a meningioma like the one I have that's benign, yet dangerous all the same, but it presses down. It's like a ball that presses down. In this case, a GBM is like a tumor that has like tentacles on it, small tentacles. And no matter how much of that tumor you cut off, those tentacles have grown into the brain. So, and it's extremely aggressive, extremely aggressive. He declined chemo and radiation. And honestly, I don't even give a fuck that he did. Honestly, the sooner that he died, the better. Now, I know that sounds really fucking cruel, okay? But when you hear what I'm about to tell you, then you're not going to feel so bad, okay? I want you to understand that when he went on trial, okay? I'm going to share this. When he went on trial, videos were shown. Apparently, Joseph Duncan made 3 videos in these cabins, okay, in Montana, of himself sexually assaulting and torturing Dylan, okay? Now, just so that you all know, after he sexually assaulted and tortured Dylan for weeks, he shot him in the head point blank range, right in front of Shasta, his sister. Now, what I'm about to say is going to be, very explicit. And I want to, if you have, feel free to turn this off now if you can't take what I'm about to say because it's going to hurt. It's something I've always remembered. On the videos, Dylan was screaming out in pain while Joseph was ranting and raving, saying, quote, "The devil is here, boy, the devil himself. The devil likes to watch children suffer and cry." This is what a naked Joseph Duncan was shouting in a video he made in a decrepit, abandoned cabin in the Montana forest. The jurors who had to watch these 3 horrific, graphic videos were shifting uncomfortably in their seats. They were giving him the side, the type of eye like, bitch, if I could get to you myself, I would kill you. He represented himself, by the way. He objected to these videos being shown and made the claim that the juries were now going to be his victims and they would no longer be a jury of his peers. Of course, the judge didn't buy it. He sexually assaulted and tortured 9-year-old Dylan and then later murdered him. All of this on video. These videos were the final pieces of evidence that prosecutors presented in this case. Now, I want it to be known that in the video, Joseph Duncan not only sexually abused the child, but he hanged him from a wire noose, and he kept beating him with a loop of wire. At one point, Joseph Duncan tries to revive Dylan's life because he had killed him at some point. Okay. And promised to take him to the hospital, although that never happened. He then made claims on the tape that he both killed and then saved the child. And at one point, started singing the Lord's Prayer in a high voice, interrupting himself after the words, "Thy will be done." To then shout, "Can this be your will? You put people on the earth to do this. How can you do this? How can you let me do this, God? Where are you? Show yourself." So he wanted to put God into his sick, twisted bullshit. As the videos played, one juror turned away and shielded her eyes with her hand. Her face contorted. Another covered her mouth with a tissue, sobbing silently. Some glanced at Duncan, who watched intently on the monitor in front of him. Motherfucker. What a motherfucker. Now, before these videos was shown, I want y'all to know that the beam from the roof of this cabin where this wire noose was used to hang Dylan from was brought into the courthouse in a large glass case and shown to the jurors. Dylan's DNA was on that wire. Jurors were also shown floorboards from the cabin that were taken just under the noose that were stained with Joseph Duncan semen. Now, a man, a high-ranking naval officer, testified that in January of 1980, he was a 14-year-old eighth grader in Tacoma, Washington, who was sexually assaulted at gunpoint by Duncan, who was 16 years old at the time. It was 28 years ago at this time when he testified. He said he did a lot to try to forget, but he couldn't. After his testimony, the prosecution rested its case. Duncan was escorted to the witness stand because he said he planned to testify on his own behalf. Instead, Duncan says, "I have no statement prepared. I was just intending to sit and answer whatever questions the government might have." Because he hadn't said anything, prosecutors couldn't ask him anything. And that's how his trial went. He was eventually, again, convicted. He was given the death sentence. And unfortunately, he died of natural causes yesterday. I would have rather seen a needle go in his arm. But that's just my opinion. So it's like the feeling of a story coming to an end that I've been following for many years. I mean, many, many years. Um, my prayers and my thoughts are with Shasta and all the other victims of Joseph Duncan. Like I say, good riddance to Joseph Duncan. I wish that his death would have been more painful for the things that he did. And then I also say to myself, is there anything that we as a society could have did? This guy has been raping people and killing since he was 16. And here he is, 58 years old, dying a natural death. Ain't that something? You know how in the Bible, the Lord, the Lord was asked, why do bad things happen to good people? And the Lord answered, good and bad things happen to good and bad people. Period. And I want to say today is a great day, but there's no great thing to, someone dying. But when it comes to Joseph Duncan, good riddance. I'll see y'all later.